Hello everyone, TheDerpHog here, and today I'm going to be doing another trip recap video. As you can see by my outfit, I'm going to be doing my Texas trip recap, as I went to Texas for the very first time back in October of 2024 to visit family, and that trip was definitely fun as I got to experience a lot of Texas that very first time, along with visiting the states of Mississippi and Louisiana for the very first time as well. And oh boy, do I have a lot of pictures, especially some cool ones of me at the Mississippi and Louisiana welcome centers, and a lot of pictures of the highways and scenery along this route. So let us get started with this Texas trip recap video. But first, you're watching TheDerpHog, where I make highways content on all sorts of different topics. If you've been enjoying it, be sure to hit that like button. And if you've been really enjoying it, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you're notified on all future videos. And if you really want to help out the channel, become a member today, where you get custom cool emojis, early access to future videos, along with one free extra request per month. And if you don't want to become a member, you can always just pay $3 for a intersection request in future videos. Those highways will be listed down in the description below, and I'll make sure to shout you out when that video releases. So let's get on with the highway. We begin here on exit 71 on Interstate 95 here, where we took the ramp to head towards 95 South for Fayetteville here. And then our first exit on Interstate 95 was North Carolina Highway 82. And it does make sense, as North Carolina 82 is getting signed for really small towns, as North Carolina 82 doesn't really go through much, and plus is a really short state route here. And then further down the road, we also met North Carolina Highway 20, which was getting signed for St. Paul's and Rayford. And then we also coincidentally passed by a Texas Steakhouse billboard here on Interstate 95. And then we also passed by the 74s here in Lumberton, and every time I just look at this, it just gives me a headache because it's just so confusing. And then we also passed by US 301 and 501 here at the Carolina border, and immediately after we entered into the state of South Carolina. Yippee! And our first mileage sign in South Carolina, we got Florence on the bottom line at 31 miles away, with South Carolina 34 at 1.5. And no, this will not be the last time we'll be seeing a fraction on a mileage sign here, because it does appear later on in the trip too. And this is where I began a 1,054 mile journey on Interstate 20 towards Dallas. And the first major exit that I got on Interstate 20 was US 401, obviously. And our next major exit was US 521 here, and me and my grandparents actually took this exit to get some dinner here off of 521. And I also got some cool pictures of Camden, South Carolina and US 521 here. And the place that we stopped at was this Popeyes here off of 521. And oh boy, was the service bad there. Not only did they run out of chicken fillets for their chicken sandwiches, we had to wait like an entire hour just to get our alternative food, which I ended up getting some chicken tenders instead. They were still good, but I did not like that service at all. And to make things even worse, there was a Circle K right next to the Popeyes, and it was closed, so we literally had to drive to the next exit for US 601 just to get some gas, which was totally stupid. But I also did get some pictures off of 601 here as well for Lugoff, Camden, and a really bad mileage sign, and some Control Cities 420. And then further up the road in the Columbia area, we passed by Clemson Road here. I mean, which is kind of ironic, as South Carolina and Clemson are in-state rivals and play each other every year. I wonder if there's a Columbia Street in Clemson, South Carolina. And here's where 20 meets Interstate 77, as we're getting signed for Columbia still. And our next mileage sign, we get I-26 on the top line and Augusta as our primary from 70 miles away. And then here is where we meet Interstate 26, as it's being signed east for Charleston and west for, I don't know, because this interchange was under construction at the time. And here is where Interstate 20 meets US Highway 1, getting signed for Lexington. Why is there so many Lexingtons in the south? And then a little ways down the road, we get another mileage sign, still with Augusta as our primary from 52 miles away. And we also meet US 178 here, getting signed for Batesburg, Leesville, and Wagner. And then we also meet US 1 once again, and this time it is getting signed for Aiken. And always after that US 1 exit, we passed by this fallen over sign here. I wonder how it fell over. Maybe some sort of storm or something. And then at the time of this, we were passing by this beautiful sunset here on Interstate 20. One of the weird quirks about South Carolina is that when we get closer to our control city, we get a secondary, which is a little closer to the primary. Yeah, I don't like this. We should be starting to sign Atlanta here, because we're only 13 miles from Augusta. And then here in Augusta area, we're meeting with 520, and we're now getting signed west for Atlanta, which definitely is the correct choice. And our next mileage sign reflects that, as we get Atlanta from 148 miles away. And since there is no Welcome to Georgia sign after crossing over the Savannah River, this was the best I could get of a Welcome to Georgia. And our first major exit in Georgia is Interstate 520, and this is the break where I'd stopped taking pictures because immediately after this it was starting to get dark out and there wasn't really any opportunity to get some lit pictures. But I did manage to get a picture of 278 joining with Interstate 20 here on the outskirts of Atlanta, as we're now being signed for Atlanta still. And since Atlanta is a major city and has a lot of lights, I was able to get some Atlanta pictures along with Interstate 285 here. And I also got a picture of US Highway 23, which just gets the Kentucky treatment, which makes sense because we're basically in the heart of Atlanta. And then here is where 20 meets with 75 and 85, as they're now getting signed west for Birmingham, which definitely is the correct choice. And here's a cool picture of the Atlanta skyline here on Interstate 20. And I also got a picture of Georgia Highway 280 here in Atlanta. On the other side of the city, we're meeting with 285 once again. And for some reason, 20 West does not get a control city, which you can have a little bit of room there to put Birmingham on here. And here we meet with Georgia Highway 61 and 101, where me and my grandparents actually stopped here to stay the night, because you want to know how long of a drive it is from basically Fuquay to Dallas, Texas. It's like 18 or 19 hours, and we were not going to do this in one trip. So we stopped here in Villa Rica to stay the night. We begin the second half of the journey, which was the major overhaul part of it, with this picture of me getting a selfie with Interstate 20 shields off of Georgia 61 and 101 here, which is pretty cool. And if we zoom out, we can see that the control cities for 20 is Atlanta and Birmingham, which definitely are the correct choices. And we get Birmingham as our primary on a next mileage sign from 113 miles away. And we also met US Highway 27, which, yes, I have been on this highway. It was up in the Chattanooga area, as 27 is concurrent with 24. And here is a cool shot of the Bremen area on Interstate 20, and this road is actually US 27 here. And I actually did use this picture for the US 27 southbound thumbnail. And here we just get a cool mileage sign with Tallapoosa as our top line and Birmingham from 99 miles away. So triple nines. And always down the road, we're now entering into the state of Alabama, and at that time it was the first time I entered into my home state for the first time since 2012. And we also got a cool entering Central Time Zone sign, so that was pretty awesome. And here is an actual welcome to Sweet Home Alabama sign, which is kinda, I think, like half a mile into the state. And our first mileage sign here in Alabama is a pretty good one, with Birmingham still as our primary from 79 miles away. And we also got to meet US Highway 431 here, which will take you over to US 78. And 431 was actually concurrent with Interstate 20, and this is the exit where 431 splits off from Interstate 20. And our next mileage sign, we get Birmingham still from 58 miles away. And then further down the road, we still get Birmingham as our primary from 41 miles away. And here we are meeting with US Highway 78 as it's being signed for Riverside and Pell City. And here is where we meet US 231 here in Pell City. And then once we got closer to Birmingham, we are meeting with Interstate 459 as it's getting good control cities. The only thing I'd replace is Gadsden with Chattanooga, as 59 will be taking you up towards that way. And this is the actual exit for 459, and me and my grandparents actually took 459 around the city of Birmingham here. And I wonder what this 2 in south belongs to. Here we get a mileage sign with just the next 3 exits here on Interstate 459. Oh, so that's what that 2 in south belongs to. So we're getting signed for 459 south for 2 Interstate 65. Interesting. And now we're meeting with US Highway 280 here, which is being signed for Mountain Brook and Childersburg, while 459 is being signed for Montgomery and Tuscaloosa. See, I told you it comes back. We get Interstate 65 on the top line and US 31 from 4 3/4 of a mile. Interesting. And here is that exit with Interstate 65 as it's being signed for Birmingham and Montgomery, while working sign south for Tuscaloosa now. Here is the exit with US Highway 31 here, and since we passed by Interstate 65, we're now getting signed 459 south to 59 and 20. And then here we get an actual mileage sign closer towards the end of 459 with Tuscaloosa as our primary from 44 miles away. And this is the end to Interstate 459 as we hopped on to 20 and 59 southwest towards Tuscaloosa. And once back on 20 and 59, we also got a reassurance shield for both US 11 and Alabama Highway 5. And then our next mileage sign, we get Meridian now as our primary from 118 miles away. I mean, that's alright, that's where 20 and 59 splits, but it'd also be cool to see Jackson here. And here is where 11 and Alabama 5 splits off from Interstate 20 and 59, and man, that sign is in rough condition. Here is another exit with US Highway 11, and then another one. And then here we get an unusual mileage sign. We get Condell on top line and Tuscaloosa as our primary from 18 miles away. Why? That should be Tuscaloosa on the top line and then either Meridian or Jackson on the bottom line here. No need for Cottondale. But luckily once we get closer to Tuscaloosa, we get Meridian as our primary once again from 104 miles away. And now we're meeting with US 82 here in the Tuscaloosa area. And we also meet with Interstate 359 as we're now getting signed for Meridian now. Here we pass by US 11 once again along with US Highway 43 as we're getting signed for not Knoxville, Tennessee, Knoxville, Alabama. And here we pass by Alabama Highway 14, which is getting signed for Utah and Aliceville. And the next mileage sign, we get Meridian still as our primary from 59 miles away. We also pass by through the city of Cuba, Alabama, which is kind of funny. And this is the last exit in Alabama for US Highway 80 East, which will take you over to Demopolis. And this here is right at the Alabama and Mississippi state line, where they're just telling us that we're entering into Lauderdale County now, along with the Welcome Center being 8 miles away. And yes, I actually did stop at that Welcome Center and got a few cool pictures. A Welcome to Mississippi plaque, along with a selfie of the Welcome to Mississippi sign and a picture of the state of Mississippi on a map. I actually got my own personal map of Mississippi, but sadly I lost it and don't know where it went. And we, a little ways down the road, we do get a Welcome to Mississippi sign, so that is pretty good. And our first mileage time here in Mississippi, we get Meridian from 15 miles away. No, that should be Meridian in Jackson, not just Meridian. Our first major exit is US Highway 45, which is getting signed for Macon and Quitman. And a little ways down the road, 11 and 80 will rejoin with us as we're now heading towards Jackson. And this is where US 11, where we say goodbye to US 11 and Mississippi 19 as they are getting signed for Philadelphia. That is a long ways away from here. Interesting. For our next mileage time, we get Laurel on the top line and Jackson as our primary from 87. I mean, Jackson is a really great choice for 20, but I prefer to maybe see New Orleans for 59 or maybe Hattiesburg. And this is where 59 splits off from Interstate 20 as it's getting signed south for Laurel and New Orleans while we're getting signed west for Jackson. And our next mileage time, we do get Jackson as our primary from 75 miles away. And here we meet with US Highway 80 as it's being signed for Lake and Lawrence. Are you happy now, Todd? And now we meet with Mississippi 35 and it's being signed for... Oh, come on. Why do you keep stealing town names, Mississippi? And then here we get Mississippi 18, which is also getting signed for Raleigh, Mississippi. And then here in the heart of Jackson, we're meeting with US Highway 49 as they've been signed south for Hattiesburg. Here we meet Interstate 55, and 3 of those 4 control cities I would definitely change here. Guess which one I will not change. And here is where 55 and 20 splits off as it's getting signed for New Orleans as well, which definitely is the correct choice. While we get Vicksburg and Yazoo City. I would definitely change that Vicksburg to Shreveport. And here we are meeting with Mississippi's Interstate 220 as 49 will be joining with it as we're still getting signed west for Vicksburg. No, that should be either Vicksburg, that should be Vicksburg and Shreveport or Monroe and Shreveport. Here we are crossing under the Natchez Trace Parkway. I want to do the video on that someday. And then here we get another mileage sign, and see, Vicksburg is only like 30 miles away, so why in the world is it being signed? Do Shreveport. And then our next mileage sign, we get Monroe now as our primary from 86 miles away. I mean, that's a bit better, but I prefer to see Shreveport here, because Shreveport is a pretty big city in Louisiana. And here we are meeting with US Highway 61 here, and 61 is actually concurrent with Interstate 20 as we head through Vicksburg. And here is where we have a reassurance shields for 20, 61, and 80 here, which is pretty awesome. And this is where US 61 splits off from us as 20 is now signed west for Monroe. That should be Monroe and Shreveport. Here we are crossing over the Mississippi River on this cool bridge here into the state of Louisiana. And on the other side we get a Welcome to Louisiana sign, which is pretty awesome. And look how big this mile marker is. That is huge. And our first mileage sign here in Louisiana, we do get Monroe from 62 miles away. And here we meet with US Highway 65, and me and my grandparents actually stopped at this exit to refuel on some gas. And while on that exit, I got a couple of cool pictures of US 65. A mileage sign for it, and the 65 shield is missing here at the junction with the gas station. This reminds me of North Carolina. This is the reason why I took this picture. And then here we are meeting with US Highway 425, and 425 is an oddball, like most of the 400X highways. Here we are meeting Louisiana Highway 133 at mile 133. Too bad this is not at exit 133, or else would have the trifecta of 133 here. And here we are in Monroe meeting with US Highway 165 as it's been signed for Bastrop in Columbia. And I actually stopped on US 165 here and got a cool pictures of a couple of reassurance shields. And here in downtown Monroe, I actually stopped at a Whataburger. I mean, it was alright. The burger had too much mustard. I'm not really a big mustard guy, but I prefer In-N-Out over Whataburger. And here still in downtown Monroe, I got a cool picture of 80 reassurance shield along with South Business 165. And this is the exit that we got back onto Interstate 20 as we're now getting signed west for Shreveport, which definitely is the correct choice. And here next mileage time we get Shreveport as our primary from 87 miles away. And then here in Ruston we're meeting with US Highway 167. And this is also the start of US Highway 63, but for some reason Louisiana is not acknowledging this, sadly. And then further down the road, we're meeting with US Highway 371, as 371 is being concurrent with us as we head towards Shreveport still. In fact, here is that concurrency, and man, this 371 shield is like really tiny compared to Interstate 20. Here is where 371 splits off from Interstate 20 here. And now we're entering into the Shreveport area where we took another bypass route, Interstate 220 here, as it's being signed west for Texarkana. Our first exit on 220 is for US 79 and US Highway 80 here, as they're getting signed for East Texas Street. And then we actually passed by the Bossier City water tower here on Interstate 220. And then once again, we just get a mileage sign exit thing here with Louisiana 173 from 5 miles away. I don't know, how about you actually put an actual control city here for 220 instead of just exit the next couple of exits? Here we are meeting with US 71 here on Interstate 220. And they're now meeting with Interstate 49, which is being signed north for Texarkana, and we're now getting signed west for Dallas, which definitely is the correct choice. And to Interstate 49 south for Alexandria. And here we are meeting with Interstate 20 once again, as we're now getting signed west for Dallas. And this was the last exit that I took in Louisiana here for US 79 and US Highway 80. And this here is the last mileage sign here in Louisiana, with Dallas as our primary from 173 miles away. And man, those were some long 173 miles. And then 4 miles up the road, we're now entering into the state of Texas. Yippee! And while in Texas, I managed to get a picture of this cool Texas plaque at the Texas Welcome Center. Sadly, it was closed, so I couldn't get a map. And I was actually really excited when I first saw this for the very first time, because it blew my mind seeing an exit number in the 600s. I think the furthest I've ever seen it in person up before this was like 420 or something. But yeah, this was pretty cool. And our first mileage sign here in Texas, we get Dallas as our primary from 159 miles away. And here we are meeting with US Highway 59 here, as it's being signed for Carthage and Marshall. And then our next mileage time, we still get Dallas as our primary from 155 miles away. And I took this picture because of exit 599 as one short of exit 600 here. And then now we're meeting with US Highway 259 as it's being signed for Longview, along with Texas 149 for Carthage. And 259 was actually concurrent with this, and here's where it splits off from Interstate 20 as it's now getting signed south for Kilgore. And on our way towards Dallas, we also meet with US 271 here. And we also pass by US Highway 69, which is being signed for Tyler and Lindale. And then we also pass by Texas Highway 49 toll here. And the next mileage time we get Fort Worth now as our primary, which is definitely the correct choice because, I mean, despite being only still 80 miles from Dallas, I mean, Fort Worth is still part of the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, so why not start signing Fort Worth as well? We passed by exit 540 for Farm to Market 314. The reason I took this exit is because it reminds me of Interstate 540. And then once we get closer to the Dallas area, we're now getting signed west for Fort Worth, which definitely is the correct choice. And now we're meeting with Interstate 635, where this 1,054-mile journey on Interstate 20 ends here, and I got onto 635 North, which for some reason does not give any control cities going this direction on Interstate 20. And here are a few exits off of Interstate 635 here, as we're meeting with US 80 being signed for Dallas and Terrell. And here's the exit for Interstate 30 here, where we hopped off of 635 and onto Interstate 30. And then we were on Interstate 30 for a short time here, where we took it to the President George Bush Turnpike, where we took that to get to my relatives. So while staying with my relatives here up in the northern Dallas area, I managed to get some pictures of a few of the local roads here. First up being the President George Bush Turnpike, which I will be doing a video on here in a few weeks or so. Another local road is Texas Highway 78 here, and I managed to get some mileage signs and reassurance shields along with a direction sign. And I managed to also stop at an In-N-Out, as there's a location here off of Texas 78. Another local road here is US Highway 75, and I managed to get a few pictures of US 75. And yes, I did stop at this Buc-ee's here in Melissa, where I managed to get some pretty cool stuff here. This map and whoopie pie, along with a t-shirt. And then sadly I did not get this Texas Snowman snow globe here, but I did think it was pretty funny, so I did take a picture of it. And I also got this cool mug from the Buc-ee's, so yeah, that was pretty cool. And then another local road that I got pictures of was the Dallas North Tollway, as I used this road to get to a couple of cool places in like the Plano and northern Dallas area. Another cool thing that I got to do while in Texas was take a day trip down to San Antonio with my grandfather and uncle, and we actually started that trip here on US Highway 75, getting signed out for Dallas, obviously. And here's the famous High 5 interchange, and sadly 635 is not getting control cities here, like usual. And here's a close-up view of all the overpasses and stuff and the actual High 5 interchange. And here's a cool view of the Dallas skyline as we're entering into the heart of the city. And then here's 345, and we actually managed to take the exit here to Interstate 35 for Waco and Denton. And on our way towards downtown, along with 235E, we have a cool view of the Dallas skyline here. And here's some more downtown Dallas pictures. And here's where we're meeting with 35E, as we're about to go under this bridge here. And this building actually fascinated me here, so that's why I took a picture of it. And that is some one steep building. And here we are finally on 35E, where we have an exit for Interstate 30 signed east for Texarkana and west for Fort Worth, as we're now getting signed south for Waco. I mean, personally, I'd also like to see Austin on here too. And I think this is like the famous 30 bridge here in Dallas, so yeah, that is pretty awesome. And now we're meeting with exit 424 for Illinois Avenue. Nice street name. So US 67 actually has been concurrent with us, and this is where it splits off from 35E. It's signed for Cleburne, while we're getting signed for Waco still. Here we pass by the exit for US Highway 77 South, and it just gets no control city. And now we're meeting with US Highway 287 as it's getting signed for Corsicana and Fort Worth. And here we get a mileage sign with Hillsborough on the top line, which is the town where 35 merges back into itself, and Waco as our primary. And here we're now passing through the city of Italy, Texas, so that is pretty funny. And here's the main exit for Italy, Texas, which is Texas 34 here. And this is where 35E and W merge back into Interstate 35 here. And we also have an exit for US 77 North here. And here now meeting with Texas 22, which is being signed for Whitney and Corsicana. And here's a Interstate 35 reassurance shield now, as we're now on 35 proper. Our next mileage time, we now get Austin as our primary from 125 miles away, which definitely is the correct choice. And here in the Waco area, we're meeting with US 84 along with 77 business here. And here's a cool view of McLean Stadium, or Baylor University's football stadium. And somehow I managed to actually get a cool close-up shot of the stadium along with Texas Loop Highway 574. And we also stopped in downtown Waco here, and here's a cool shot of downtown, to stop at the Dr. Pepper Museum, where I actually managed to get my own cool cup of the Dr. Pepper Museum. Anyways, back on 35 here, we're now meeting with Texas Highway 6, which is getting signed for Meridian and Marlin. And here's the exit for Texas 7, which is very moody for some reason. Another one of these. Man, why do these states have like missing interstate signs? Now we're entering into the city of Temple, and we're now be taking the Loop Highway 363 around Temple, as the GPS rerouted us from 35 to Loop 363. And then on the other side of the loop, we're now meeting with Interstate 35 once again, and they have the weird Texas 2 style interstate shield. And then further down the road, we're now meeting with Interstate 14 along with US Highway 190, as they're getting signed for Killian and Fort Cavazos. And here's an unusual mileage sign here in Texas. Normally it would be like on a smaller, and I think with Clearview font, but this one is just a normal size mileage sign with Highway Gothic. And then now in the Austin area, we're meeting with Texas Highway 130, which is being signed south for San Antonio. And no, sadly we did not take Texas 130, we stayed on 35 here. And here we meet with US Highway 79 once again, and this is actually the southern terminus of US Highway 79. Though sadly I did not manage to get onto US 79 personally, but I did manage to stop in Round Rock and get this to US 79 shield, which was the closest I've ever gotten to US Highway 79. And here we are meeting with Texas 45 toll road along with Texas 1 toll road here in downtown, or in the heart of Austin. And now we're meeting with US Highway 183, which is getting signed for Lockhart and Lampasas, while we're still getting signed south for Austin because we haven't made it to downtown yet. And here's a cool view of downtown Austin as we're approaching it. And here's another cool shot of the city. And another one. And then finally on the other side downtown, we're meeting with, here's where 290 splits off from us as it's being signed for Johnson City. And we're now getting signed south for San Antonio, which definitely is the correct choice. And sadly, since the sun went down as we were heading towards San Antonio, I didn't manage to get a picture of the Texas Highway Loop 604 or the San Antonio Outer Loop, but we did manage to stay at a hotel off of Loop Highway 1604. So the next morning we got up to head towards downtown San Antonio, and this is where Loop 1604 meets with 281, and we took 281 into the heart of San Antonio. And here is where we go pull through for 281, signed south for San Antonio. And now we're meeting with the 410 here, and just like all the other 3-digit highways, we do not get any control cities for it. And we're also going to be meeting with the exit for the San Antonio airport. And since we're now getting closer to downtown, 281 is now signed south for downtown San Antonio. It's a cool picture of the San Antonio skyline on 281. And now we're meeting with Interstate 35 here, and I think this is also the start of Interstate 37. Yep, here we get a pull through for 37 and 281, signed for Corpus Christi, which definitely is a good choice. And then we also managed to stop in downtown San Antonio, where I got a cool couple of pictures along with visiting the Alamo. And while in the Alamo, this is where I got this hat from for my cool Texas bits, or when I do other Texas roads in the future. Anyways, on the trip home, we managed to get back onto 281 along with Interstate 37 here. And now 281 is now signed north for Johnson City, which I think is a good choice. I may have to look in more into it when I do 281 here in the near future. And once we got back onto Interstate 35 here, we now are meeting with Interstate 410, and this is probably the only time we'll be seeing 410 get an actual control city. And while concurrent with 410, we passed by Kirby, Texas, which is way bigger than both Kirby, Arkansas and Kirby, Pennsylvania. And this is where 410 splits off from Interstate 35, as we're now just getting signed north for Austin still. And here, going this way on Interstate 35, I did manage to get a picture of Loop Highway 1604s. And here's the exit for New Braunfels, the Business 35 loop, and I don't know if this is still accurate, but at the time this was the largest Buc-ee's here in the country. And then further up the road, we get a mileage sign with Austin on the bottom line at 41 miles away. And then here we pass by exit 200 on Interstate 35 here, which is pretty cool. I like seeing perfect 100 exits. And then see, when we were in North Carolina, we got a billboard for Texas Steakhouse, and now here in Texas, we now get a picture of North Carolina Furniture Outlet Store. And here we are passing through the city of Kyle. I don't know who he is, but nice that he has a city named after him. And now we're getting closer to the outskirts of Austin. We pass by Toll 45, which will take you over to Toll Highway 130. And here's another cool view of the Austin skyline all the way in the distance here. And while stopping in Austin, I managed to be on Texas Highway 165. And you want to know what the unusual thing is? That this highway is literally situated entirely in a cemetery. Literally entirely in a cemetery. And not just any normal cemetery, the Texas State Cemetery too. So that is a pretty unique highway that I got to be on. Anyways, back on Interstate 35, we're meeting with 290, and this is where 35 becomes a double-decker highway here. And I think, if I remember correctly, we took the upper deck here. And here we are meeting with US Highway 183, and 290 is now splitting off from Interstate 35 to head east towards Houston. And now, further up the road, we meet with US Highway 79 once again in the Round Rock area. Now our next control city is Temple. Why are we being signed for Temple? This should definitely be either Dallas or Fort Worth. On the northern side of Austin, we're meeting with Texas Highway 130 once again, as it's getting signed south for San Antonio, which definitely is the correct choice. And then we're now getting signed north for Waco, so we went from Temple to Waco now, so I hope this sticks. Anyways, here in the Temple area, we're meeting with Interstate 14 along with US Highway 190, and it just gets the same control cities as we saw on southbound 35. And then now we're getting Hillsboro as our primary, so we went from Temple to Waco, now to Hillsboro. Come on, Texas, why do you be inconsistent? That should be Dallas or Fort Worth. But luckily on our next Malachine, we do get both Dallas and Fort Worth as our primaries, because I know in Hillsboro is where 35 splits into East and West, but this definitely makes sense for both 35E and W. Here in the Waco area, we're meeting with US 84 once again, as it's being signed for Waco Drive and Belt Mead Drive. And our next mileage chime, we do get both Dallas and Fort Worth as our only next two towns. And here in Hillsboro, this is where 35 splits off into 35E and W, and we took 35E to head back towards Dallas. Our next mileage chime, we get Waxahachie as our top line at 28 miles away, and Dallas as our primary from 56. Here's a cool reassurance shield of 35E here. And here we are meeting with US 287 once again, getting signed for Corsicana and Fort Worth. And now we're meeting with Interstate 20 here, and this is the exit that we took to get back towards northern Dallas. So this is the furthest west I've ever been on Interstate 20. And now here is where 20 meets Interstate 45, as we're not getting signed east for Shreveport, but we did not make it that far east, we only make it to 635 here. Now we're meeting with US 175, and we're still getting signed east for Shreveport. In this direction of Interstate 20, we do get control cities for 635, which is signed for Mesquite and Garland. And on 635, we actually get a begin Interstate 635 sign here with a mile marker. And here's our reassurance shield of Interstate 635 here. And we took the exit for Interstate 30 here, signed for Texarkana. And then we took Interstate 30 to get back onto the President George Bush Turnpike to get back to my relative's house here in the northern Dallas area. So we actually begin our trip home here on the eastern terminus of the President George Bush Turnpike, where we took the exit for 30 west for Dallas here. And then we took 30 over to 635, which again has no control cities, and I'm very agitated about that. And then we took 635 over to 80 here, where we took 80 out of the city towards Terrell. And we took 80 over to Spur Highway 557, where Spur 557 will take you to Interstate 20. And here is where Spur 557 merges into Interstate 20 as it's being signed east for Shreveport. And on our way towards Shreveport, I managed to get a very cool picture of this sunrise here with these beautiful colors. And here we get our first mileage chime with Shreveport as our primary from 120 miles away. Here you are meeting with Farm to Market 3414 at exit 540 once again. And we also get a Toll Texas 49 billboard in the background. And our next picture, we get Toll Texas 49, which gets no control cities. I wonder why Tyler needs a Texas toll road. It just seems out of place. Anyways, in the Longview area, we're meeting with US 259, and 259 is going to be concurrent with us as we head towards Shreveport. And here's where 259 splits off from Interstate 20 as it's being signed north for Longview. Our next mileage chime, we get Shreveport as our primary from 49 miles away still. And this is where we meet US Highway 59, and it's being signed for Marshall and Carthage. And here's the last time I'll be seeing exit 635 until the next time I go to Texas. And shortly after, we now are entering into the state of Louisiana, where I managed to get a stop at the Welcome Center and get a couple of cool selfies here. Our next exit after exit 3 is exit 5 for US 79 and US Highway 80 as they're getting signed for Greenwood. And this is here in the heart of Shreveport. We're meeting with US 171 as it's getting the Kentucky treatment. And now we're meeting with Interstate 49 here, as we're now getting signed east for Monroe. I prefer to see Jackson there, but Monroe is still pretty sizable. Now we're meeting with US Highway 71, and 71 is actually made concurrent with us as we head towards Monroe. Here's a cool view of downtown Shreveport. And here's a couple of reassurance shields with 20 and US Highway 71 here, so that is pretty cool. And now on the other side of Shreveport, we're meeting with Interstate 220, and we're now still getting signed east for Monroe. Here's the exit for US 371 once again, as it's being signed for Cotton Valley and Spring Hill. And here is the ridiculously tiny shield for 371. Next Malatine, we do get Monroe as our primary still from 67 miles away. And here we are now meeting with Louisiana Highway 9. Yippee! Here we meet with Louisiana 151 at exit 69. Louisiana actually had some fall foliage here as we were driving on Interstate 20. And this was actually pretty interesting to me as we get a parish signed route here for Tarbutton Road. And here in the Ruston area, we're meeting with US 167 once again, and like going westbound, we do not get any acknowledge of US 63. And then here in Monroe, we're meeting with Louisiana Highway 34, and this was the state route I was on in Monroe. And now we're meeting with US Highway 165 once again, and we're now getting signed east for Vicksburg. No, that should be Jackson. Jackson is just 30 miles up the road from Vicksburg, so put Vicksburg and Jackson here, not just Vicksburg. Next Malatine, we do get Vicksburg from 69 miles away. And now we're passing by the Louisiana 609 exit for Dunn once again. We're arming with US 65 once again, and just like going westbound on 20, we stopped at this exit to refuel on some gas. And I managed to get some Control Cities 465 here. And after that, we get Vicksburg, only from 6 miles away. This should definitely have Jackson on here now. No need for that Delta. And here's the last exit in Louisiana for US Highway 80, signed for Delta. And then here, before we cross over the Mississippi River, we actually get some Mississippi exits here. And here we are crossing over the Mississippi River on this bridge here. And on the other side of Vicksburg, 61 is splitting off from us as it's being signed for Yazoo City. And we're finally getting signed east toward Jackson. Since we're only 30 miles out from Jackson, I'd also prefer to see like Meridian or something too. And our next Malatine, we do get Jackson from 32 miles away. And this mileage sign is just one of the stupid ones. Sure, it mathematically makes sense, but why are we signing Jackson from 13 miles away? This should just have Meridian as our next primary on here too. Here's the exit for the Natchez Trace Parkway, and we also get a mention of Clinton, Mississippi for the next two exits. Though here in the outskirts of Jackson, we do not get a Control City 420, we just get a regular pull-through sign. Here arming with 220 along with US Highway 49 are now getting signed for Meridian and Hattiesburg, which are good choices. Now arming with Interstate 55 as it's getting signed north for Grenada and Memphis. Memphis should be on there. And we're getting signed east for Meridian and Hattiesburg. And then here we Mississippi 18 once again, which is getting signed for Raleigh, Mississippi. And now we're meeting with US 80 at exit 100 once again, signed for Lake and Lawrence. Now we're meeting Interstate 59 here, and we're going to be concurrent with it as we head towards Tuscaloosa and Birmingham. And now we're meeting with US Highway 11 and 19, and here's that infamous 11 in Mississippi 19, a pull through here instead of 20 and 59. And now we get our reassurance shields for both 11, 80, and Mississippi 19, and no mention of 20 or 59. And after going through Meridian, we are now meeting with US Highway 45 once again, signed for Macon. And we're now entering back into the state of Alabama. In our first mileage in Alabama, we do get Tuscaloosa as our primary from 72 miles away. And here is that exit for 11 and 43, signed for Knoxville, Alabama. And yes, I did stop at this exit to get a cool picture of the 11 and 43 shields from a gas station. In our next mileage we now get Birmingham as our primary from 57 miles away, which is definitely the correct choice. And then here in Tuscaloosa, we're meeting with 359, and we're still now getting signed east for Birmingham. Here are meeting with US Highway 82 once again, as this is getting signed for McFarland Avenue Boulevard. And here we are meeting with US Highway 11 for who knows many times. And in the next mileage time we get Bessemer on the top line, which I think is home to the Milo's Tea Company. And then we're now getting signed for Birmingham still from 45 miles away. Here we meet with US 11 and Alabama Highway 5, and it's been signed for West Blockton and Centerville. And now we're meeting with Interstate 459, and like going westbound 20, we took 459 around the city again. And this time it's been signed north for Gadsden and Atlanta, which definitely is a cool choice. But if you want to make it even better, I'd replace that Gadsden with like Chattanooga or something instead of just Gadsden. Now we get the 459's welcome party, as we're now getting signed to both 65, 20, and 59. Here are meeting with US Highway 31, and we also have a mention of Interstate 65 here coming up in 1.5 miles. And here's that exit with 65, as we're now still getting signed north for Atlanta and Gadsden. Next mileage time we get Gadsden on the secondary and Atlanta as our primary from 154 miles. And here's the exit with US 280 once again, getting signed for Mountain Brook and Childersburg. And here's where we merge back onto Interstate 20, as it's now getting signed for Atlanta, which definitely is the correct choice. And now we're meeting with US Highway 78 here in the city of Leeds, along with in front of the Leeds Buc-ee's here, and we're now getting a pull through just for Atlanta. Here we meet with US Highway 411, which is getting signed north for Moody and south for Leeds. And our next mileage time we get Atlanta still as our primary from 135 miles away. And this stretch of Interstate 20 here in Alabama is actually pretty scenic here. So here's some scenery. And then some more scenery. And then in our stretch of perfect scenery, we actually US 78 actually joined with us, and here's a cool reassurance shield of the US 78 shield. And this is where US 78 splits off from Interstate 20, as it's being signed east for Eden and Pell City. Our next mileage time we get Atlanta as our primary from 123 miles away. And here we are meeting with US Highway 231, getting signed for Asheville and Pell City. And on the way back, me and my grandparents actually stopped at this exit to get some dinner here. And we ate at the City Market Grill and Buffet place, which is an alright place. I mean, if I ever was in this area, I'd definitely go back there because the food was alright. And then since the sun set, I couldn't get any more pictures between Pell City and the Georgia state line, so here we are entering into the state of Georgia. And we're now getting a cool scenic view of the Atlanta skyline here on Interstate 20. And here's my own picture of 285, meaning Interstate 20, as we're now still getting signed east for Atlanta. And here we are meeting with US 19 and 29, even though 2019 is not concurrent here with 29. And here we are meeting with Interstate 75 and 85. And going this direction, we actually hopped onto 75 and 85 and took 85 home instead of the rest of 20. And I decided to skip ahead to the 85 and 75 split, as if you want to see all my Atlanta pictures, I recommend checking out my 85 video in the top right corner here, as we're now getting signed north for Greenville, which definitely is the correct choice. Here we are on Interstate 85, meaning 285, as getting signed for Chattanooga and Augusta, and we're now getting signed north for Greenville still. And then here is where 85 meets Interstate 985, that's getting signed north for the good Gainesville, and we're now getting signed north for Greenville still. And once again, it was really dark outside, so I can get an actual picture of the 441 and Georgia Highway 15 exit, as this is the town where we stopped at to stay the night, because like I said, it is like an 18 or 19 hour drive from Fuquay to northern Dallas. So when we were getting back onto Interstate 85, I managed to get this cool picture of 85 being signed for Greenville still. And in our next mileage time, we get Greenville as our primary from 72 miles away. And then here we are crossing over Lake Hartwell on Interstate 85 into the state of South Carolina. And here's a Welcome to South Carolina sign, so that's pretty cool. In our next mileage time, we get Greenville from 42 miles away. And then further up the road, we're now getting a mention of Clemson, South Carolina from 14 miles away. And here's the exit for US 76, which will take you into Clemson, which definitely is the correct choice here. And here arming with US 178, just like we did on Interstate 20. And again, this is a weird quirk of South Carolina. We're only 20 miles from Greenville. We should be seeing our next major control city here, not a secondary, very close to our primary. Here in Greenville, we're meeting with 185 and US 29, and we're now getting signed north for Spartanburg. Personally, I like to see Charlotte, but Spartanburg is still an alright choice too. It's a pretty sizable city, and it's part of the Greenville-Spartanburg metro area. Our next mileage time, we get Spartanburg as our primary from 27 miles away. And we're now meeting with US Highway 276 here in Greenville, as it's been signed east for Malden and west for Greenville. And here is where we meet Interstate 385, and here at exit 66, we do get a mention of Lyman here for US 29 going northbound on 85. And here in Spartanburg, we're meeting with Interstate 26, and we're now getting signed north for Charlotte, which definitely is the correct choice. And here are meeting with US 176, which will take you over to Interstate 585. And in our next mileage time, we get Charlotte as our primary from 72 miles away. And then a ways up the road, we're now entering into the state of North Carolina. And if you saw my 85 video, you know how badly North Carolina does on Interstate 85 south of Charlotte. Anyways, here we are meeting with US 29 and 74 here at exit 10. And then further up the road, we're now meeting with Interstate 485, the ring road around Charlotte, and we're now getting signed for the CLT airport in Greensboro, which definitely is the correct choice. Here are meeting with North Carolina Highway 16, which will take you over to US 74 in downtown Charlotte. And I'm meeting with US Highway 21 and Interstate 77, and we get the Statesville overload here. And here we get another pull through for 85 as we're now getting signed north for Greensboro still. Here's the other meeting with Interstate 485 as it's being signed for Huntersville and Matthews. And the next mileage time, we get Greensboro as our primary from 76 miles away. Good job, NC-DOT. And here we are meeting with US 29, and 601 is actually going to be concurrent with 85 as we head towards Salisbury and Greensboro. And here's where 601 splits off from 85, and 52 is now going to be joining with Interstate 85 for a short time. And next mileage time, we get Greensboro as our primary from 45 miles away. This is well done. And in the 85 video, I did give this a rare NC.W. And here we are meeting with 29 and 70 as now we get 85, 29, 52, and 70 all signed for Greensboro and Winston-Salem. Here is where 52, 29, and 70 splits off from Interstate 85 to join with 285, and we're now getting signed north for Greensboro and High Point. Our next mileage time, we get Greensboro on the bottom line at 38 miles away, which still is definitely the correct choice. And here we are meeting with US Highway 64 as it's being signed for Lexington and Asheboro. And our next mileage time here in the Greensboro area, we're now getting Durham as our primary, and then you get signed for Raleigh? Wow. So NC-DOT is actually favoring Interstate 40 here, which definitely is the correct choice. And once again, in the 85 video, I did give this a rare NC.W. And I forgot to take a picture of the 421 exit going this direction on Interstate 85, so here it is on Google Street View. And then on 421 itself, we do get a future Interstate 685 shield corridor here, so that is pretty cool. And here is where US 421 meets North Carolina Highway 49, being signed for Liberty and Ramseur. And here again, mileage time with Sanford as our primary from 37 miles away, which definitely is the correct choice. And here's where US 421 actually meets with US 64, getting signed for Tyler City and Pittsboro. Personally, I'd like to see Asheboro and Raleigh here. And we actually stayed on US 421 and took it over to North Carolina Highway 902. And I bet this is probably the only time you'll ever see North Carolina Highway 902 in a video. And once on North Carolina 902, we get a one-liner here because North Carolina 902 doesn't really go through much. It just only goes to Pittsboro. And here's a reassurance shield of North Carolina Highway 902 here in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina. And then we took 902 over to the 15501 and North Carolina 87 here, and here's a reassurance shield for those. And then we finally managed to make our way back over to US Highway 1, going through various back roads. And one is being signed north for Raleigh and Sanford here. And once on US Highway 1, we get Apex in the top line and Raleigh is our primary, which definitely is the correct choice. And this is the exit that we hopped off of US 1 to get back home to take various back roads. And then we took the various back roads to get back onto North Carolina 42, where we continued home. And that'll end the recap portion of the trip home. Well, I hope you guys had fun learning all about my Texas trip, because I certainly had fun going down there and visiting family, along with going to cool places like the Alamo down in San Antonio, along with visiting a couple other attractions in Waco like the Dr. Pepper Museum and the Texas Ranger Museum too. So my next couple planned include US 15 southbound with Portamont 437. That'll be next week, and then after that I'm going to be doing the other direction of US Highway 23. So if you have any requests for any of those two highways, please let me know ASAP so I can check out when those videos end. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next week when we do 15.